Hello, my fellow humans. Welcome back to Scatter Love Tarot, with your girl coming at you with another pick a card reading. Thank you to anyone and everyone that continues to be a supportive part of this journey. I'm truly honored to be sharing this time and this space with you. And for anybody that is new here, welcome. This is that reminder that we're all here sharing this human experience, and that this is a safe space to show up as your highest, most aligned, loving, authentic self. And if you are truly new here, we do things completely differently on this channel, so I just suggest strapping in, hanging on, and you and I are going to find out together. Should the messages resonate along the way, it would mean the world to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe below. And if you're interested in supporting the channel further, check out the description box. It has everything you need, including how to reach me for a personal reading, as well as how to join as a member here on the channel. With that being said, today we are asking, how can you stand in your power? This was a channeled message that I received during meditation, and it's been sitting with me for a few days. So we're going to get into it today, and I felt like the Sacred Rebels Oracle by Alana Fairchild is the absolute perfect deck to use for this reading. So first thing, let's hop to your prayer, and then we will get this reading underway. So let's see what comes through. I'm a little tired this week. I feel like that might be a collective thing that's going on, though. I feel like the whole collective's just been kind of feeling like down and maybe energetically low, and so it's not just you. I do feel it as well. All right. My beloved source, this prayer is for any and all who come onto this reading, whether it's for a moment's time or for the entire time. You know, oftentimes we get stuck believing that we're not strong enough to carry on, or that everyone else outside of us is stronger than us and has the ability to do things easily or more easily than we do, or without the difficulties that we face, when the truth is that we all have our own challenges to go through. We all have our own ups and downs that we have to face. And at this time, I ask that you give us the courage to really lean into that part of ourselves that maybe we're hiding from, or that maybe we're not recognizing as a strength within us, so that we can open the door and allow our inner strength to stand firm and to stand tall. Knowing that this journey isn't a lonely journey, even at times it might feel like it, because you're always walking the journey with us. Knowing that we have access to a deeper resolve if we allow ourselves to go there. But alas, the collective is feeling this energetic lull, if you will, and we really could use that at this time, myself included. So I ask that you give us all that little extra energetic boost right now, and remind us that we are capable, we are making headway, we are moving towards our highest, most aligned selves. As these words are spoken unto this reading and upon this tribe, so shall they be. Amen, aho, ase. Thank you, thank you, thank you, my beloved source. Thank you. All right, let me get that set up over here. All right, we'll move this off to the side somewhere. All right, source. So what Sacred Rebels Oracle card will help us better understand how my collective can stand in their power? How can my fellow humans stand in their power? What Sacred Rebels Oracle card will help us better understand how my fellow humans can stand in their power? How can my fellow humans stand in their power? And I did notice on the last few videos there was a complaint about the sound. First and foremost, I do have to say that there's going to always be a whirring in the background because I live in an RV and the air conditioner is loud and it is way too hot to be leaving it off right now. So that's not going to happen. But I also did recognize that I was using rainstorm frequencies, I guess, or rainstorm sounds, and it actually didn't have a thunderstorm too. It was just rain pouring down, and I think that exacerbated the problem. So I'm going to start using nature sounds more frequently as well. It just, with the frequencies, you never know if you're going to run into copyright issues, which is something that I agree with and something that also is irritating because I really like to listen to frequencies while I do readings, but that's just kind of changing now, and that's okay. So just a heads up. Alright, so source for pile number 1, what Sacred Rebels Oracle card will help us better understand how pile number 1 can stand in their power? Thank you. And for pile number 2, source, what Sacred Rebels Oracle card will help us better understand how pile number 2 can stand in their power? How can pile number 2 stand in their power, source? I felt it. Right there. Interesting. Okay. Alright, and source for pile number 3. What Sacred Rebels Oracle card will help us better understand how pile number 3 can stand in their power? Whoa, okay, thank you. Alright, collective message. On the bottom, we've got faith in the process. So number 32, which breaks into 5. 5 is all about change, but having faith in the process. You know, she's curled up in this sardine can praying, and you notice everything is devoid of color except for this can that she's in that is highlighted in red. So it's like the alert here, right? The reminder is that there is power in trusting in this process. There is power having faith that source is looking out for you and that communication is coming in for you. I feel like sometimes we get so caught up in the when are things going to pan out for us that we're not actually focusing on how things are shifting for us already in this moment, because we're looking at the bigger picture and we're thinking if the bigger picture isn't here in this moment as it should be in my mind, then I'm really far away. And in the reality is that you're not very far away at all. Is that you're actually in this place where things are manifesting. All of a sudden I get the hiccups. Things are manifesting, but because it's not what you think it should be or how you envision it would be, then you're thinking that, oh no, it's not coming in. This is very human of all of us to do. I've done it, and I'm sure you've done it many times. It's just something that we do. It says no matter how powerful we are, the very first line, no matter how powerful we are, and we're asking how can we stand in our power, how synchronistic is that? It says how much courage and strength we have. There are times when we can't quite move ourselves to the next phase of life or creative exploration. It says at times we need some divine intervention, a little help in pulling our trolley along, so to speak. When we are at the edge of our own limits, we have no more personal resources. We might be left with only one spiritual power, that of faith. Fortunately, that is enough. As unlikely as it may seem, the invisible help from the universe is often more powerful than the physical efforts of 1,000 men. That is because the invisible help is not limited by physical laws. It can shift, bend, and move in ways that defy limitation. It can affect, evoke, and influence situations through invisible but undeniably persuasive means. You're in a situation where you cannot set right the course of events all by yourself. This is not an indication that you have done something wrong, nor does this suggest that you were not strong enough. It is a sign that there is something bigger unfolding in your life, and your willpower will be supplemented by the power of life itself. Sometimes a bigger plan needs to manifest for the benefit of humanity and the earth. You need to shift your perspective to realize that you are a part of the greater unfoldment of life, that your individual life serves the greater plan, and that you are not separate from its genius. This is what is happening now. You happen to be instrumental to the greater plan. As such, you need to accept your position and be moved, while also being empowered and protected as you make personal progress through your role in the grander scheme. This is a time for humility and trust. You need complete faith in the process and events that are happening. There is nothing to worry about. You will be moved most fully and easily, and with the most grace and assistance through your faithful surrender. Ironically, it is through complete surrender in total faith that we become the most empowered. When we are no longer trying to impede the perfection of the greater plan, we can be aligned with and moved by the process, having faith in the benevolence of life rather than harboring the suspicion that life is seeking to catch us out, have a joke at our expense, or carelessly toss us about as though we mean nothing. Then we can relax a little. Having faith in the process gives you space to be curious about what is taking place and relax enough to be open to what we are most in need of, even if we aren't exactly sure what that is or how it can happen. The guidance of this oracle comes direct from the greater source of life itself. There is now an opportunity for you to be moved from a situation you are currently in to the next chapter in your life story. You can't do it on your own. It is too big a shift. It needs the grace of life to intervene on your behalf. You'll need to faith through. You may feel as though the wheels of your trolley are coming off and that they are a bit rickety, but you must understand that the voice of life is now coming straight through your heart with this message. I have resources you know not of. It is safe to trust in my ways and in my wisdom, for I love you, and I am guiding you into all that is rightfully yours. Know that what is rightfully yours is what your heart truly desires, and you need not fear loss. Nothing that is meant to come to you will be denied, and it is safe for you to let go and allow me to move you. Through faith, peace is restored, and you are able to know this and perhaps have some fun in the process. I love that. Yeah, so there's definitely the exhaustion coming through right away in the start of this reading, and that proves this. It's like confirmation that that's what I was feeling. It was very strong, but understandably so, because you've been doing stuff by yourself for so long, and it can be exhausting and it can be very frustrating when things just aren't panning out. But we see that here. There is help that's on the way for you. All right, so let me get this set up for you here. All right. Move that up a little. Okay. For pile number 1, we do have this beautiful piece of amethyst for you to choose from. And we have this dice with the 3rd house on it. For pile number 2, we have this piece of rose quartz. We have this dice with the 4th house on it. for pile number 3, we have this moonstone. And we have this dice with the 7th house on it. So pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. Whichever pile you feel drawn to, that should be the one for you. And I will see you over there. Hello, my fellow human. If you were drawn to this beautiful piece of amethyst, or if you were drawn to this dice with the 3rd house on it, or if you were drawn to this card during the shuffle, this is going to be a reading on how can you stand in your power. I want to say thank you to anyone and everyone that continues to be a supportive part of this journey. I'm truly honored to be sharing this time and space with you. And for anybody new here, welcome. This is that reminder that we're all here sharing this human experience together, and that this is a safe space to show up as your highest, most aligned, loving, authentic self. If you are truly new here, we do things completely differently on this channel, so I suggest strapping in, hanging on, and we're going to find out together. Should the messages happen to resonate along the way, it would truly mean the world to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe below. And with that being said, let's go ahead and hop to it and find out. Source, how can pile number 1 stand in their power? What would you like to share with us today? How can pile number 1 stand in their power? What messages would you like to come through today? How can pile number 1 stand in their power? North Node. Interesting. We've got the 8th house and Sagittarius energy as well. It's interesting that we're talking about that, right? By standing in your power, it's very important for you to embrace your purpose. Whatever you feel is your path of purpose, right? And ultimately, it's hard because we oftentimes get stuck in that place of like, well, what is my path of purpose? What am I meant to do? And it's whatever you feel is right for you. That's truly what our path of purpose is, right? It's what you feel called to. And the easiest way to find that is to track your happiness. What brings happiness into your life? What is something that you're very passionate about? And following that. And I feel like for you to stand in your power is to own that. Right? There's a lot of fear that's coming through here with the 8th house, and a need to face those fears. And instead of seeing them as something to be fearful of, seeing them as an adventure that you get to uncover yourself in the transition. Like, who am I through this? Who is going to emerge through all of this? And what am I going to discover in that? And for you to truly stand in your power, you have to really become confident and clear about yourself in this world. It's like, instead of, just say you were working in an office job your whole life, and this is just an example. Let's say you were working in an office job your whole life, and all of a sudden, somewhere along the journey, you realize, wow, I have spiritual gifts. And how can you translate those spiritual gifts into something that is meaningful for you? To give back to people, to share your knowledge with people, to give back to the world. Because it's not just about us. You know, I'm a big advocate of self-love, but we advocate self-love so that we can give that love to other people from a full cup. Right? So we know that, okay, I've given enough. Now it's time for me to draw back and to really take care of myself and to lean into ensuring that I have the energy to continue on. And so for you, pile number 1, it's very important for you to face those fears. Because when you face those fears of whatever it is that's coming through that you're getting hints at or that you're getting nudges at, Source keeps telling me you're going to know what this is. You're really going to know what this is. But when you really truly own that part of yourself and not see it as something that's scary, but rather something that can be an adventure and that you can look at with curiosity, then you're going to start going down this path of owning yourself, right? And not being jealous of other people and not being obsessive about the gift or the talents that you have either. How can you find a true balance between those two things and come into this steady, even step-by-step journey of I'm learning more about it, but I'm also taking space for myself so that I can integrate this. Because the thing is that for you to feel powerful, you have to feel whole and complete. And right now there's a part of yourself that you've been denying because maybe you've been ostracized for it, or maybe you've been ridiculed for your gifts, or people have tried to convince you that you were crazy, or that there's no way that that could ever exist in this plane, or whatever it is. But it's through that and saying, you know what, I don't care what other people say about me anymore. I choose to see the value that I bring by believing in myself. And that's how you can become very grounded and rooted in your power at this time. So we're really going to dig in today. We're going to get the Tarot Marseille, my original deck, out, and we're really going to dig in, get the good and the bad together today. It's not just about fluffy messages, okay? And I say that because we're going to look into the shadow aspect that might be coming through with this. So Source, how can pile number 1 stand in their power? What would you like to share with us today? There's a fear of starting again, of feeling like everything is against you and oh my gosh, I always have to start over. There's never any consistency with anything, or everything continues to pile up and it creates a lot of hardships and burdens for you. And when you recognize that life is helping to reconnect you with who you are, rather than be a hardship, right? Everybody has to deal with the dualities of this realm, pile 1. But if we're sitting here saying like, well, my life is worse than everyone else's, first off, we're not putting the shoe on the other foot. And secondly, we're in this space of not honoring the fact that maybe there's a reason because of resistance, right? Like, I'm resisting something so much, and that's why so many things are happening to me all at once. And when you get past that on the healing journey and on the spiritual growth journey, when you get beyond the situations that you've been through, and maybe some of you are here already, but if you are, you can absolutely agree with this or disagree if you want in the comments, but I just feel like for those of you that have done the healing and you've moved past all those hardships, you recognize that there was a lot of resistance, like resisting letting go of a relationship, or resisting letting go of a job, or resisting letting go of a lifestyle, or resisting letting go of a thought process. And all that resistance was adding up to one seemingly failed attempt after another. And that's why it's hard sometimes, because it's like, oh, well, it's everyone else, right? It's so easy to say it's everyone else, but sometimes it's just because of our resistance. And that's why life is really being rough towards us. And it's because Source is trying to help guide us back towards what's rightfully ours. But if we're afraid of it, that fear can manifest in a whole bunch of different ways, including telling us to run for the hills every time we get an intuitive nudge that this is where we want to go. And this is coming in so strongly for you, pile number 1. I feel like this is something that you may be dealing with or have dealt with before in the past. And please don't beat yourself up for this. This is something that is completely normal. It's a part of the human experience. We were raised to believe that everybody had to be, live, act, and assume a certain life and a certain identity. But when we don't fit into that cookie cutter version of life, it can really play havoc with those beliefs that we've had because we grew up in that, saying this is who you need to be, this is what you need to do, this is what's going on, and if you don't fit in this, you're gonna get exiled from the tribe, basically. This came up so many times while I was shuffling. The Nine of Wands. Okay, so that's the thing. The fear of starting over here. I don't want to start over. I don't want to begin again. It's like if you leave a relationship. Let me tell you a little story. Story time. Get your tea, get your coffee, get your water, get your drink, okay? And I heard someone say, get my purple juice. I just heard someone say that. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I needed that. That was cute. Okay, so here's the thing. When I was with my abusive ex, he used to tell me all the time, we've been together so long, I don't want to leave because starting over is hard. And I let him convince me that that was a real thing. And so that was something I held on to within that connection, and it just spiraled out of control. And so we see here there's a belief that someone maybe has put on you, and I feel like this is not your belief. I don't feel like this is something that you would naturally feel if there wasn't another voice here that was talking in your ear about this, right? I feel like you would be free enough to say, look, this isn't working for me. I need to go and take care of me, and you would. But with the Nine of Wands here on the bottom of the deck in the reverse, we see here that there's this fear of starting over, and there's a lot of responsibility to starting over, and it feels like there's a lot of chaos in starting over as well. But sometimes we need that shift, and sometimes that's the shift that helps us regain our strength and our balance. So we're talking about standing in your power. Let's see what the spread says, because I feel like there's more in the spread here. Yeah, okay, so we have the Six of Coins in the reverse, and we have the Five of Coins. Yeah, there's something here that is draining your energy exponentially, and moving on from that can be very beneficial. But let's see what we... Okay, I was feeling like it was a person, but this could also be a situation. Interesting. I saw the Fool and the Nine of Wands together shuffling at least 3 times while I was shuffling getting ready. All right, here we go. Why was I talking about a relationship? And we have the Queen of Cups and the King of Coins on either side of the Fool, all in reverse here. There is a very emotionally closed off person or situation that's surrounding you right now. Okay, and this is someone who's playing at your emotions. They are trying to get you to show up in the way that they want you to. They're doing their best to manipulate you, and they're using very tricky ways, very shady ways to do that. They're very clever. This is someone who's incredibly clever, and every day is like a new challenge for them. It's almost like they relish in the challenge of tripping you up. If I can just trip up pile number 1, then I have made progress, because you're really good and you have really grown, and I feel like you're always shifting and changing. But when it comes to this connection or this situation, there's that resistance, and this could be a label, right? So if this was a situation, say a job, this could be a label of CEO or manager or very high respected position. Although, is it a respected position if it's making you feel like crap and you're dreading going in every day? Is it really worth having the title? And I heard someone say it's worth having the pay. But is your health a good bet for this money, right? And I don't feel like it is. I don't. And I don't feel like you do either. I feel like it's just that if I have to start again, I'm going to be making less money. I won't be able to live as comfortably. But if you're sick all the time, you're not living comfortably anyways. So what's the purpose of having a whole bunch of money if you can't even enjoy it, right? And they're not saying to just jump the wagon right now, like, hey, get off the wagon, or, you know, what did my mom always had this saying, to shiza or get off the pot, because, you know, like, that's it. But I don't feel like this is what's coming through for you, but I do feel like there's this urgency for you to just recognize what's going to work for you right now. and seeing the situation from outside of the emotional attachment that you have to it, pile one, which can be very challenging. For others of you, this might be a person, and this could be because of a relationship. You have a queen and king here. You see, neither one of them are standing in their power. Neither one of them are trying to bring their best foot forward. This has become something that is routine. Someone's very emotionally disconnected, and the other person is being very driven by finances. Someone who's being very driven by getting to the top without caring who they're stepping on, without even regard for the people who matter in their lives. The only thing that matters is status. If I get a good status, then I'm going to be respected and well loved. And at the cost of what, though? We're looking at that, right? So this does feel like status to me. It's coming up again. But it might not be the status that matters to you. It could just be the things that are connected to that, right? So the money, the comfort, the freedom, whatever it is. But there's also this huge dissatisfaction with what you already have, and seeing things from a limited outlook and disregard for the good things in a present situation that you're in. And there's this fear that if I let go, I can't, what is it? Like, I want more, but I can't get more. I don't appreciate what I have. I'm not grateful for it. There's a lack of purpose here in planning ahead. So this could be that you suddenly make really good money, and every time you get paid, you spend it down to the wire, right? Like, you are living paycheck to paycheck, even though you make far more than what technically you're spending. But this could also be the metaphorical sense of you are filling up the spiritual and emotional ATM every time you get paid, and then you are expending that spiritual bank far beyond what you filled it up with. Okay? And that's what Source is saying here. And there's a need for a change here, which is why we saw the 5 of coins come out underneath the 6 of coins. This is not an equal give and take relationship. This is not an equal give and take situation. It's a very one-sided. And actually, if you were to remove your energy from it, would this person ever reach back out? Would this situation ever say, hey, pile one, we need you back? Like, thinking about these things can kind of help put things in perspective for you. Are you running yourself ragged for something or someone who does not see your value? But to see your value is to come back to the things that you love, right? Why are you giving so much of your energy to a situation or circumstance or situationship that only wants to take from you and not give anything back? And pile one, I know this is something that is very challenging in this world, especially when there's labels that we're used to, especially when we're holding on to ideas, or when we've fallen for potential, right? The potential that it's going to bring to me, or the potential that this person has. Well, potential is nice and all, but it's still just a theory. And it's a theory that unless this other party involved puts into practice, will never become a reality. And we have to let that go. And sometimes we're so attached to that theory that we're running ourselves into the ground. And so for you, how you can stand in your power is by shifting your energy here. Right? It's not even Source saying, like, cut this person out, get the heck away from this person, how dare you let this person know. Like, there's none of that here. Source is literally saying, just shift your energy, shift your focus here back onto the things that bring you happiness, back onto the things that make you feel fulfilled. And that could be the fear here, is that you don't feel like you belong when you're tapping into your gifts and your talents. You feel very ostracized, you feel very isolated, you feel very alone. But actually, it's better to be isolated and alone and cultivating a sense of happiness and peace than to be with a whole bunch of people and still feel lonely, right? And I feel like you absolutely understand what that means. So why continue to support something energetically if all it's doing is bringing you loneliness and hardship? Right? You deserve to energetically support yourself, but not only that, you deserve to energetically support the dreams that you want to cultivate in this world. And that is a very difficult thing to change to when maybe this person or this situation has demanded so much from you, and you've given that, hoping on a whim that one day they'd wake up and see you. They're not going to. Yeah, this is about your spiritual growth. And setting very solid boundaries here with House 9 coming in. But also seeing this with a sense of adventure again. It's like you get to adventure to finding out who you are. Right? And that's a beautiful thing. How can pile number 1 stand in their power source? I feel like this card and that one. Okay. On the bottom we have renewal. Yeah, you definitely, if you didn't catch the collective reading at the beginning, you might resonate with that. We have regeneration begins with decay. So only through death, right? And we see that with the 8th house. Only through death can we have rebirth. And that's exactly what this card is talking about. It's just seeing things finally come to an end so that you can have a renewal here. And it's hard, right? Like, what am I letting go of? But instead of saying, what are you letting go of? It should be this idea of what are you opening up to? What possibilities are you bringing in? We speak the language of love. I'm actually not sure why I picked up this deck, but I guess there's a reason to. We have loving words have the power to change lives, including your own. This is you're looking for someone who's going to see the light within you. You have to let go of the notion that you're going to be the one that shows that to people. Right? This belief that's coming in, or this fear, like if I don't go out of my way, people aren't going to see the light in me. Trust me, the people who care, they're going to see the light in you. And it's not because you convinced them of it. It's because the light already shines. So we have back to what you love. I can't make this up. Now I know why Source wanted me to pick up this pile or this deck. Reevaluate your desires. What makes you passionate? Going back to what you love to do. Okay, this could be a father figure. This could be a mother figure in your life. This could be a Cancer, a Virgo energy, Sagittarius, Aquarius, Scorpio's coming in, Taurus is coming in as well, and Aries energy coming in. Okay, so this is very, very heavy energy that is trying to make you walk backwards because they're used to seeing you do so many things and go out of your way for so long for them. Okay, regardless if it's a situation or if it's a person, they've seen you go out of your way to appease them. Okay, and to not do that anymore. Go back to what you love. Look, what did we talk about in the very beginning? Thank you so much for this confirmation, Source. We have fear. Fear of the unknown is coming up. Like, but I don't know what's on the other side of the door. None of us do. None of us that walk through that, oh look, underneath that happiness. Are you willing to walk through and find your happiness? That's what they're saying here. None of us know what's through the door. None of us know what's in the unknown. That's why it's called the unknown. It's not like I magically woke up one day and I was like, oh, I know exactly what's on the other side of my fear. No, I had to just face my fear and hope that things were going to work out, right? Like, that's just the way it works. And that's what they're saying. They're encouraging you to face your fear and trust and have faith in the process. We have child nature with friendships with animals and communication with nature spirits. The shadow is tendency to abuse animals, people, and the environment. So going back to the things that matter to you, maybe, spending a lot of time with your animals again, relishing in that unconditional love will help you reconnect. A lot of heart chakra energy here with Avenger. Desire to balance the scales of justice, righteousness on behalf of society or oneself. The shadow is resorting to violence in the name of a cause. Okay, so both of these talking about abuse, violence, energy. So there could be violence in your life right now, or this person is bringing a sense of violence. So that could be like Maybe it's a person who only likes to watch shows about killing and murder and, I don't know, like the news all the time, and you're always taking that in, and it's just really wearing you down. What do you love? Like, if you were by yourself and this person wasn't around, what would you watch? What would you talk about? What would you like to absorb? Like, what kind of energy would you, do you like love stories? Do you like fantasy shows? Do you like hopeful shows? Like things like that. And I mean, I'm talking about movies and stuff, but if it's at work, maybe this is someone who only talks about the destruction in life. And it's like, if you could, what would you rather talk about? Spiritual growth, spiritual discovery, right? These are just examples of, but it's understanding those parts about ourselves that help us steer clear of things that aren't serving us. Well, we have the monk and the nun, selfless devotion and single-minded dedication to spirit. We have negative judgment of the physical world and excess piety. Okay, so coming back to source here is going to help you balance your energy quite a bit. Again, much easier said than done. And just remember, it takes that time, and it's just a process, and that's okay. Okay, so we have guilt coming out here. I release any beliefs that no longer assist my soul's growth. And that's what this is all about. For you to stand in your power is releasing this guilt. Maybe it's guilt for feeling like you owe this person. I keep saying it's a person, but I felt that at the very beginning it was a person. But it could be a situation, okay? But maybe there's guilt feeling like you owe this person or this situation something, or like they did something for you and you have to find a way to pay that back. And I feel like Source is reminding you that sometimes people do things not with your best interest in heart, but because they have ulterior motives. And there is no way that you'll be ever able to pay that back, because they'll use that against you. This is like the person who lets you borrow $10 and you pay back the $10, but then something comes up and they're like, hey, you remember when I gave you that $10? Well, why aren't you helping me now? Even though they might be asking for like $1,000. But in their mind, that $10 gives them the right to treat you however they want, to show up however they want, right? And that's what this feels like, but there's still that guilt there. It's like, well, yeah, but they did give me that $10 when I really, really needed it, right? And this is just very low key, but it could be anything, right? On the bottom, success. I know that there's no greater goal than to love. So coming back into alignment with love, it's going to help you out so much here. And I feel like there's a lot of success that's coming for you, but it's pouring back into your purpose and facing that fear of letting go. The 6th house, establishing a foundation. Look, health. Oh my gosh, daily life, practical details. Health is a highlight for you right now, pile number 1. And this is not to make you afraid or scared or anything like this. This is not to be like, oh my gosh, like what the heck is happening? No, what Source is saying is that, especially with the 9 of Wands and the 6th house, the 9 of Wands talks about sickness. And it talks about that starting over in your health, taking your health seriously, but also being so weighed down by the actions that you're taking that your health has gotten out of control. With the 6th house coming out as well, we have this repeat message of it's so important for you to focus on your health and your well-being, not everyone else's right now. And that might look something like being selfish when it's not you being selfish. It's you taking care of self. These people aren't going to look out for you. If you don't look out for you, who's going to come to your rescue? You have to come to your rescue, and that's how you stand in your power. But right now, your health could be facing you, like you might be getting sick a lot, or you might, again, when I started this reading, I was talking about the energetic feeling of sluggishness and just feeling completely drained starting this reading. And this is a channeled message from Source coming in, and that's that energy. It's like maybe you've been really sluggish lately. You're like, what the heck? Like, I'm doing everything to keep my energy up. Well, it's because you're being drained. Everything that you're putting into the tank is getting guzzled out by something or someone else. So it's time for you to stand in your power by focusing on what matters to you. Look at this. I cannot with you, Source. Trusting tricksters. The trickster's only power is your trust. you are always free to withdraw it. This goes hand in hand with the Fool in the reverse. This is someone who's been manipulating you, and they want you to trust them, and they do everything. It's like every day is a challenge. How can I get Pile 1 to trust me so I can do what I want? And whether they're doing it consciously or subconsciously, that doesn't really ultimately matter. What matters is how you respond to it and how you choose to respond to it. Right now, the best course of action would be for you to focus on yourself. Radical self-acceptance. Didn't I say there's this feeling of not feeling whole at the beginning? You are received the way you perceive yourself. So how are you seeing yourself, right? Are you seeing yourself as this vulnerable, willing to open up and share all parts of yourself? Or are you scared about yourself and scared about the gifts that you've been given, scared about your ability, your talents, right? How you feel about that matters, because that's how others are going to perceive that. There's not going to be people out there who say, yay, good job, Pile number 1, you're the best person in the world, and oh my gosh, and then suddenly you're going to believe it, right? You have to cultivate that belief internally first. And then when people say that, it just confirms that, how you're already feeling. But if you don't believe that and you think that, oh my gosh, like my talent is something to be afraid of, like it makes me feel like it's me against the world, like all of those things are going to get reinforced by people outside of you. Sadness. Wow. Yeah, so this is something that's been making you really sad. You may have been experiencing a period of depression as well. And I feel like, again, with health over here, taking care of your mental health is of the utmost importance right now, Pile number 1. But also taking care of yourself energetically is so vital to your journey right now, because you are so susceptible to lower vibrational energies. And this is not to scare you. This is just because there's leakages in your aura right now from having to, it's like someone's siphoning your energy, and that leaves an auric hole. And that begins to leak your energy even more. Even if no one's around, that hole is leaking your energy. And so the best way to fill up those holes is, yes, by asking your angels to come in and to refill you with that beautiful violet healing light. Also the white light of love to come in. But the biggest thing that is going to make you feel fulfilled, I've really reconnected with yourself, is coming back to what you're passionate about. And this is going to help you really work through the sadness. Like, what is this telling me? What is this a roadmap to for me right now on my spiritual growth journey? Okay, so let's take a look at your Sacred Rebel Oracle card. We have this Sacred Fool. Look, we've got the Fool coming out, the Trickster card. So someone's trying to treat you like a marionette here. They're trying to make you their puppet. They're really trying to do these things that keep you from being yourself. And they feel like they're really good at it. And maybe they have been for a time. But the truth is that you're so powerful, Pile 1, that all you have to do is literally snap your fingers and choose to take care of yourself. And this person won't have access. This situation won't have access to you like that. So it says the Fool is a great rebel, able to thwart convention and tell the truth without restraint. Your heart is a wonderful, powerful, sacred Fool. It cares not for the right things, the right way to do things. It cares not for what the mind says is real and not real. It lives according to an inner wisdom that cannot be dictated to or controlled by anything. It loves, it lives, and it is what it is. This oracle heralds a time, now or imminent, when you will feel inspired, alive, and passionate. Yes, thank you, Source, for what you can offer the world. It says to you, don't try to be appropriate. Don't try to be socially acceptable. Worry about what others may think about what it is you are doing. Just be. If you want to wear a mad hat whilst doing so, fine. The Sacred Fool in you is willing to leave behind what has been because it no longer feels right to stay attached to it. The Sacred Fool in you trusts life completely. It would never occur to that part of you to try and outsmart life or resist its flow. It recognizes that the mind is a monkey puppet on strings. More often than not, it is controlled into fear when it could be playfully dwelling in the radical spontaneity of life. So the sacred fool in you urges your mind to let itself be pulled into the joy by your heartstrings, not into fear and doubt by controlling machines of the mass media. It's time for you to play. It's time for you to let life happen in a completely unreserved, unscripted way. The more bizarre, left field, unexpected, and apparently ridiculous, the better. This might not feel safe or appropriate at first. That is okay. That is good, actually. It is a sign that you are breaking with your own self-imposed conventions. It is time to move beyond them now because a bigger life adventure is calling you. The sacred fool goes with, let's see here. If you find yourself making choices that have others questioning your sanity, then you are right on course. You may feel that you are quite possibly going insane, but you are not crazy. You are just approaching enlightened awareness. There's a moment, sometimes a rather long one, when we wake up to life, shed our attachment to the mass opinion, and float in a completely different state of being. We might find that no one is really able to understand or connect with us, to the point that we will question our state of mind. Stay with that. It will pass. You will eventually see that you're becoming sane in an insane world. The tables will turn and you will gain greater inner freedom and creative juice. Stay on your path. Stay on the journey. Remember to take nothing too seriously and it will all work out perfectly. That is so powerful. I love that. There's so many confirmations in that as well. So it's just about you reclaiming your power through being the unique self that you are and not to worry about where everyone else is. Sorry, I didn't mean to stick my finger in the camera. And stop trusting these people who only want your energy or want to siphon something from you, okay? So this is what I see here for you, pile number one. If you felt like this was your reading, I actually think that there is a little joker card. Leave the little joker card emoji down below and say, I choose to trust in the spontaneity and the creativity of life that I am inspired to live through, knowing that this helps me leave behind sadness, upset, depressed energy, and freeing myself once and for all. And if it resonated with you, it would mean so much to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe below. And if you're interested in supporting the channel further, please check the description box. It has everything you need, including how to reach me for a personal reading, as well as how to join as a member here on the channel. With that, I do want to take a quick second to thank your guides, your spirit messengers, your angel source, and my spirit guides for coming together to give us this very powerful message, pile number one. And until next time, stay human. Bye. Hello, my fellow human. If you were drawn to this beautiful rose quartz here, if you were drawn to this dice with the fourth house on it, my apologies, or if you were drawn to this card during the shuffle, this is going to be a reading on how can you stand in your power. I do want to say thank you to anyone and everyone that continues to be a supportive part of the journey. I'm truly honored to be sharing this time and this space with you. And for anybody that is new here, welcome. This is that reminder that we're all here sharing this human experience together, and that this is a safe space to show up as your highest, most aligned, loving, authentic self. If you are truly new here, we do things completely differently on this channel, so I just suggest strapping in, hanging on, and you and I are going to find out together. And should the messages happen to resonate along the way, it would really mean the world to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe down below. With that being said, let's hop to it and find out, how can pile number two stand in their power, source? What would you like to share with us today? How can pile number two stand in their power? How can pile number two stand in their power today, source? What can you share with us? Okay, so we've got the third house, we've got the moon energy, and we've got Aries energy. Okay, so I'm going to mention this just briefly. This could have to do with thoughts, feelings, beliefs towards a twin flame connection. Okay? That's the only time I'm going to mention it. So what's going to come up might resonate with you in regards to your connection with a twin. But other than that, we are looking at the way that you're logically thinking, right? The logical thinking mind, form of communication, what it is that you learned from this is childhood, early learning, childhood relations and logical thinking, and the action that you take on those, and how at times your emotions might get the better of you, and that's okay, right? I'm not here like saying, oh my gosh, tomorrow you need to wake up and you need to figure it out and not let your emotions get the best of you. Look, we're human. At the end of the day, our emotions are what make us human, and if we were to just cut them out entirely, we would be robotic, and that would just defeat the point of this experience altogether. Please don't beat yourself up if you have let your emotions get the best of you. It is something that has happened to everyone, myself included. Guilty, right? Like, I have had to learn through very difficult situations that sometimes it's just not okay to let our emotions give us a hot head, or to let us act very irrationally to certain situations, right? But we see here that Source is pointing out this is something that you learned very early on in your childhood. This is in response to what you were seeing play out between people in front of you. That could be parents. That could be parents with your siblings. That could be siblings. That could be how your siblings treated you and their friends. That could be friends that you knew. That could be teachers that you knew, right? You were seeing this and you learned how to do that. It's a learned pattern. It's a learned behavior. But it is something that has a tendency to overrun, and immediately might say, oh, I have to react to my emotions when they show up. But that reaction is actually a distraction from sitting present with what's arising. And then later on, after you've reacted, right, you sit with it, and you might feel guilty, or you feel bad about how things went, or you feel overwhelmed about how things went. It's funny, they're poking at me to share a story with you, and I know I've shared this before, but just really quickly, there was, I think it was in 2017, it was like a month after my mom had passed away, I got hit in a parking lot, right? I wasn't moving. This lady just threw her car in reverse, and she ran into my car. She totaled my car. She was walking with her mom and her two daughters, and they saw the car, and I was so livid. I was like, how did you not see the car? After she hit me, she pulled forward, and I never let her get out of her car. I hopped out of my car, and I went to her window, and I stuck my face in her rolled down window, and I started screaming belligerently at her. I called her every word in their book. Her two daughters are sitting in the back seat, but it's completely out of my control at this point, because I literally let my anger get the best of me. Everything had boiled up. My mom had just passed away. I was just going through it. Did that excuse how I was acting? No, absolutely not. But now that I've healed from that, like, I understand exactly why I showed up the way that I did. I also see that that was something that was playing out from my early childhood. And, like, I was absolutely crazy, and it was so interesting because her mom got out, and her mom is actually the one that dealt with me. Her mom says, look, this isn't the first time that this has happened. She's on my insurance. This is a grown woman who's on her mom's insurance because she can't get her own insurance because she has so many accidents, right? And you could be saying, well, she shouldn't be driving. We could all say that, right? But that's their situation, and that's for them to figure out. But ultimately, her mom's the one that I dealt with, and her mom was the one that got me to calm down. And it wasn't until I got home later that night that I played the whole situation over in my head a million times, and I felt so awful. I couldn't believe that I cursed in front of these two girls. Like, they were young girls. I mean, they'd probably heard curse words before. They were, I would say 11, maybe 11 and 13, 11 and 14, around that age. So I'm sure I'm not the first person that's cursed in front of them, but that's not who I wanted to be, right? And my emotions got the best of me. And so what Source is saying here is, like, not letting your emotions get the best of you. But also, if it happens, don't feel like you're the only person that is struggling with that. That's just the human condition, right? That is us being human and becoming aware of how we're showing up here. But there is a lot of anger that's coming in. I felt that before I even started, and it's coming back in again. There's a lot of anger that's arising here. So there's something that triggers you often. And when it triggers you, the first emotion that you're leaning on is anger. And you're letting that anger become the way that you show up. And so you've lost your power to the emotion. And we're asking, how can we stand in our power? And that's what Source is saying. Instead of letting the anger take over, letting that overwhelming emotion take over, can you sit with how you're feeling rather than leaning on the action that has been derived from seeing it over and over again, which takes practice. Okay, you're going to get it, and then you're not going to get it, and then you're going to get it, and then you're not going to get it, and that's a part of the process too. And letting things happen as they will, because each time that you show up and each time that you don't show up is a valuable lesson for you. And if you allow it to be, right, it will always be your choice. And I do see here it's because there's been a lot of unwanted energy in your life. Maybe there's family that's been really super nosy. There's been very emotionally distraught situations that you've grown up in, things that are very hard for you to face and to come to terms with, that you actually dealt with. It's easier to keep those skeletons in the closet, right? However, every time that you get triggered, those skeletons are the very things that are driving your actions here. So Source, how can pile number 2 stand in their power? And we're going to really get in it today. I'm going to be using my original Tarot Marseille deck, and we're going to get the whole of it, okay? So just knowing that going in, right? So how can pile number 2 stand in their power? How can pile number 2 stand in their power, Source? What would you like to share? Yeah, there is a feeling of that's coming through where it's like I'm feeling disempowered, but also feeling like maybe reenacting a overbearing parent, an overbearing mother, an overbearing caretaker that might have been a Capricorn or may have been an Aquarius. How can pile number 2 stand in their power? Yes. Okay. Source, how can pile number 2 stand in their power? Thank you. Let's see what's on the bottom of the deck. Yeah, we've got the 3 of Coins in the reverse. Capricorn energy coming out again. Dissolution of partnerships here. There's something that's fallen apart. You know, and back to what I was saying at the beginning, if this has to do with a labeled connection, okay, then it's feeling like it's not coming together, feeling like it's falling apart. Matters of the heart are at play here. Feeling like feeling stuck in your head, wondering why someone's being so surface level with you, or why there's so many things that are very surface level here with you. And there's this feeling of being attacked by another person for not showing up in a different way. And what Source is saying is that we cannot control another's actions, right? We have to control our own. No matter how much we want, pray, hope, or demand another person to show up how we expect them to show up, ultimately our expectations become our downfall. With the 3 of Coins here and the Knight of Cups in the reverse, it's showing that there's someone here who hasn't necessarily shown you emotion, but there's remnants of maybe being breadcrumbed and then it being taken away, and then using that breadcrumb as a reason to look at it as something that it's not, okay? But this could also be with your anger. It's your anger is breadcrumbing you because it knows how to get you to react. So there's a lot of energies that are coming in here, and they keep telling me it's a person, but it could be a situation here, okay? There's a lot of disappointment that's surrounding this situation. It's a partnership or project that does not bear expected fruits. And the key word they keep showing me here is expectations. Go upstairs, though. Back up, then. Back up. I can't move my table, sweetie. You got it. Okay. Interesting. She never gets stuck right there. She went to go get water. Maybe like, what the heck? Why would you block their water? I'm not blocking their water. The way I have to sit is with the table over to the side of this table. And so it's right there, and their water is actually behind me. And she has full access to it, both ways. Both in between the tables right here, and if she goes around the table. But she got stuck for some reason, and I feel like that's synchronistic to the reading, because she knew how to get out, but she was just stuck. She was just stuck there. And so I feel like Source is saying, like, you know how to get yourself out of this, but there's a stuck energy where it's holding on to something for the sake of holding on to it. And this is a similar message that pile number 1 had, but it's also different, because it's like pile 1 didn't know that they were holding on to it. This is almost like you're very aware that you're holding on to it, but I don't want to let it go for a reason. There's an absolute stubbornness that's coming in. But again, I feel like that stubbornness is a learned feeling. It's a learned emotion that you have, that it's like, I need to hold on to this. I need to be this way. I need to have it this way. And so whether that's because there's a lot of people, excuse me, I need a drink. I'm about to cough really hard. Yeah, I feel like this is hard. This is hard to hear. But it could be something that's like, whether that's people behind the scenes that are convincing you that it has to be a certain way. Oh no, it's like, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this, and then it will be this over here. Or it could be that the emotional ego is holding on to the want of it being the way that they expect it to be. And that is what's driving you as well. But there's a lot of expectation in this reading for things to be a certain way. And, you know, Source has a funny way of humbling us when we expect things to be a certain way, or when we expect people to be a certain way. Source has a funny way of humbling us, and it's not a cruel joke, but it's just that reminder that there's only one person that we can ever truly control, pile 2, and that's ourselves. We can only control ourselves. We can't control who's gossiping about us. We can't control what people believe about us. We can't control how people see us. We can't control how people love us. We can't control how people treat us, right? None of this is something that we can control. The only thing that we have control over is ourselves, and how we choose to react, respond, or show up in the situation. So there's like this unstable feeling that's coming in here. Here's the thing, there's like a lot of overly optimistic, being overly optimistic about something, but still having an unrealistic attitude about it. So it's like, I'm overly optimistic that it's going to work out because I'm doing all the work, because that's what everybody says it should be. But maybe it's not that. Maybe you're not able to open up to the potential of what it could be, because you're stuck on this belief that it has to be what originally appeared at the beginning, especially with the 6 of Swords here. We haven't even seen what this card is, because they're wanting me to focus on these 3 cards right now, because this is like the highlight of your reading coming in. And there's like this energy, I don't want to rock the boat. Like, if I rock the boat, it means I'm letting go of something that I feel is stable, even though it's not stable at all, right? So you're accepting these limitations that have been presented to you, and it's like, I don't want to change. And there's a need to compromise here so that you can make the best of the situation that you're in, even if it's not what you wanted. Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah, so that's why they didn't want me to turn it over right away. This is all a mind game here. Okay, this is your emotional ego playing a mind game on you. It is really pulling some strings here. And the thing is, with the 9 of Swords in the reverse, we were talking about not being able to see the red flags, right? And we were talking about the anger of this emotion that's getting the best of you, that forces you to react. Not to respond, but to react. To react to something is completely different than responding. So reaction to anger would be like somebody's yelling at you, and you immediately feel like you have to defend yourself, you have to yell back, them's fighting words, okay? But to respond would be to observe the situation, to sit with what's happening, and to recognize that this person, them yelling at you, actually has nothing to do with you, and it's a-okay for you to walk away, right? That would be a response. So noticing the difference between what a reaction is and what a response is. Are you actually responding to the situation, or are you reacting? And when you're reacting, you're not standing in your power, right? When you're reacting, you're letting the situation get the best of you. And so now you've given your power away to the situation that's happening. And that's why we have the 9 of Swords here in the reverse, is this not being able to see that as a red flag, not even being able to be clear about that, being a troublesome action in your life. And that's what Source is bringing up. And I feel like you're very aware of the emotions that you have, but at times wondering, like, I can't control those emotions. That's just a part of who I am. But the minute that we resign to that and we say, oh, I can never learn something new, that's just who I am, is the minute that we're saying it's okay that that emotion's like that in my life, because it means that I don't want to actually look further into it because it might be too scary. It might be too overwhelming. I might not like what I find there, right? We're giving whatever the excuse on the back end is, we're giving it power to say, I don't want to dig deeper. And so we have to choose to face that part of ourselves. The more we're afraid of something is the more that we know we have to do it. I can't remember, it was that Stephen Presserfield in the War of Art, I think. Is the more that I'm afraid of something then the more I know I have to do it. And I feel like that's what Source is reminding you here, is like there's a huge fear that's arising, but it's controlling your emotions. It's making you act, right? And Aries energy is ruled by Mars, and Mars is the god of war. And so this is like, again, that energy, them's fighting words. That's what it's creating within you, is this energy like, I got to go to battle. Like, put your dukes up because we're going to go. And not realizing that it's that very same energy that's actually disconnecting you from your highest good and from your higher self, and disconnecting you from standing in your power. Sometimes silence and non-reaction is the best thing that we can do, because it leaves us in a space of peace. And when we can feel that peace and stay in that state of peace, then we're connected to a higher good within us. And we're coming from a place of love. And, you know, it's like love is patient. Love is kind. We talk about that. And love is this beautiful gift that we've been given to step into, but oftentimes find ourselves struggling to step into it because the emotional ego is running rampant. Okay, and this is something that you may know about, but you're not wanting to dig a little deeper. Okay, we have House 4 coming out. It flipped over. We have cultural and family roots, home, peace, and comfort. So again, that confirmation that this is coming from something that you saw unfold all the time. Like maybe your parents argued, or maybe your parents argued with your siblings, or maybe they argued with you all the time, or there was always a fight. Everybody felt like they had to stand up for themselves and prove that they were right, or prove that someone else was wrong, so that the spotlight was taken off of them. House 3 coming out again. Early learning, childhood relations, the rational mind, and communication. So Source confirming, very clearly confirming here that this is not actually you. Even though saying like, oh, I can't change, that's who I am. What you're saying is that I'm going to carry this for the rest of my life because it's too scary for me to learn something different. And that's okay, right? That's okay. Facing that fear, though, is the most important thing that you can do for yourself, because it's going to bring a huge shift for you. Okay, they want one more of these. All right, thank you, Source. I know it's not always easy. But I've come a long way from that situation that happened where that lady totaled my car. In fact, I remember a couple of years later, I was in Nevada, and a guy in a huge trailer backed into my car and left. And I was fine. I went through it. I was like, you know what? I'm glad the dogs were in the car. He was very close to hitting the gas tank. I'm so glad no one got hurt. But it left a big old gaping hole in the side of my car. And I was just like, oh my gosh. I drove all the way back to the house that we were staying at and got all the groceries out, and all of a sudden the anger hit me, and I was with family, and I said, you know what, I need to excuse myself. And I excused myself, and I went and I walked around and around in this big circle around the block, and I walked so fast, and I let it come out. I just let myself be mad for that time. I was just like, I was cursing, but I wasn't screaming at anybody. I was just saying the curse words, and I was like, oh my gosh, people in these days, like, and I was going on and on about it, but I didn't take it out on anybody. And that was the moment that I realized I had made such progress on my journey to go from screaming at somebody to letting myself feel the anger. And then after 5 minutes or so, the anger dissipated and I was okay. And even though there was a hole in my car, like, I was so deeply grateful that the dogs didn't get hurt. I was so deeply grateful that whoever was involved in it, obviously they didn't get hurt because they just left. So I'm grateful for that, because it's like, it could have been a really bad situation, right? Look, we have emotional energy coming out on the bottom of the deck. Emotions are messengers to be met with appropriate attention, action, and gratitude. Wow. That's what I was just talking about. Like, this is that energy. It's like realizing that our emotions are the blueprint for our life, but we have to meet them. We can't expect other people to meet our emotions. But oftentimes we do. We want other people to meet our emotions where we're at and validate our emotions, but it's not their job to validate us and our experience. Wow, okay. So we have 64 coming out here with wasp spirits. Sometimes life stings. Yeah, and wasps are known to be generally just angry in general, right? They're very angry. They'll sting on a dime. Like, wasps, I don't mess with them because a wasp is a wasp, right? But I appreciate them for what they are. And I feel like that's what Source is saying. Like, it's, instead of letting the anger get the best of you, appreciating it for what it is and what it's bringing to you, that, right, that emotional energy, appreciating that, being grateful for that, and then asking yourself, what is this teaching me? Look at this. We have Eagle Spirit on the bottom. Spirit has your back. Like, Source isn't asking you to deal with this alone, right? You can absolutely help or get help from your guides. You can get help from Source. You can pray and ask for assistance. You know, there's plenty of times that helps so much when we sit in prayer and just say, you know, like, I'm experiencing this emotion right now. It's completely overwhelming. Can you help me work through it? Can you help me understand this? Can you help me see the bigger picture of this? And they will give you that guidance. Absolutely. Trusting your intuition right now. I do feel like when you get into these states of emotion, it's hard for you to trust your intuition, right? It's hard for you to listen to your intuition because it's almost like the door closes immediately when the emotions are taking over. And that's just how it works, right? But letting your intuition guide you is going to be something that helps you out so much along your journey right now. And I feel like you are a very intuitive person. But knowing that even the most intuitive of us can still close the door on our intuition when life is getting the best of us. And then our emotional ego says, no, we're going to do things this way because, right? And that's okay. Like, that's not to beat yourself up. It's not to be, like, mad at yourself. It's just a reminder that that's just part of this human experience. We have Hermit here. Seek solitude to focus intently on inner life. Serves personal creativity. The Shadow is withdrawals from society out of fear or negative judgments of others, refusing to help those in need. So this may be one of those times that when your emotions are getting the best of you, to just withdraw. Go into hermit mode and say, what is going on with me? What do I need to take from this? Honesty. Honesty flipped over. I can't always expect the truth from others, but I can expect it from myself. And this is that radical honesty coming in. Being radically honest with yourself. Are you really mad at this person? Or are you mad because they're not validating you? Are you mad because they're not hearing you? You know, like, asking these questions. Are you mad at yourself? Right? These are all valuable things to ask yourself. And it's not to blame ourselves. It's not to punch ourselves in the gut and to be like, you're stupid. It's not about that, because it's not. That's not true at all. You're doing the best that you can, just like everyone else. Right? And this is what you know how to do right now. And it's the only way to change, the only way to gain back your power is by taking back your power. And sometimes we have to take back our power from ourselves. That sounds a little counterintuitive, but it's true. Happiness. I'm aware that being happy means I'm on the right path. So finding the things that bring you a sense of happiness and fulfillment will help as well. It'll also give you that space where you go into the zone, right? Like, where you're so connected, time either stands still or time flies by. But it's like where you're so present with what is that you can actually let things unravel and work themselves out. That's another thing coming through here. So we have intention. Lacking personal direction begets confusion. Life is a pawn to someone else's game of chess. So what is the intention? And I feel like that's important too. Like, what is my intention behind getting so emotional, right? And it's okay to be emotional. Emotions are a very beautiful gift that we've been given. And when we're tapped in and connected with those, they can help us out so much. But what is the intention of being super overwhelmingly emotional right now? What is my intention behind that? And is that really serving my highest good? Wisdom in play. Our intuition knows more than we do. This feels like temperance energy, balancing of the light and the dark. But look at how she's blindfolded here. Sometimes we need to put the blinders on for ourselves and then trust our intuition here. Ghost. Someone ghosted you. It's interesting when this comes out because it feels like I feel like a ghost, or like I feel like someone has ghosted me, or I feel like, you know, like that's what it is. Like, how could someone do that? How could someone just disappear from my life without a reason, without an explanation? But there could be many reasons. There could be many things, you know, and instead of trying to figure out what those things are, focus on what it's teaching you, the silence. What is the silence teaching you? And this also feels like that's a good thing for you to learn from as well, is the silence. Victim. We have prevent you from letting yourself be victimized or victimizing others. And the shadow is playing the victim for positive feedback in the form of pity. The inability to maintain personal boundaries. Okay, so coming out of the victim mentality and standing empowered, knowing that you're more than that. You're not a victim here. Look, we have destroyer, the anger coming out again, releasing what is potentially destructive, preparing for new life. Intoxication with destructive powers, destroying others' dreams or potentials. And I feel like that's the destroyer within has been destroying you. So making you focus on whatever the situation is instead of focusing on what matters to you and moving forward with that. Gossip. Awakens consideration for the feelings of others and honoring trust. And the shadow is thrives on the power of passing on private or secret information, betraying confidences. So there may be a feeling here that someone's gossiping about you or someone is doing you wrong. And I do feel like there's a lot of focus on this person and there's a lot of focus on this situation. And with this coming out, source is saying that at this time, we just have to let them show up exactly as they're going to show up. Maybe they shouldn't gossip about you, but that's just because they shouldn't doesn't mean that they won't, right? That's just life and understanding that. But what can we do? We can only control ourselves. Let's take a look at your card. I'm going to read this from the book. Conscious connections. Tapping into your heart chakra and your sacral chakra here. Finding new abundance in the world around you. Also, it's interesting because I know this is a different woman here, but it's like this fear of looking at yourself in the mirror. For fear of seeing something you're not going to like. But it's also the fear of looking at someone else who might actually be going through a very similar experience as you are. Not seeing that they could actually give you wisdom or guidance on something that would help you heal exponentially. Right? So maybe seeing this person is going through something very similar to what you're going through. Sometimes that's really hard for us because we're so tapped into how we feel in the situation and how we would show up in the situation. This person possibly can't have any hardships going on in their life that would ever make them act the way that they're acting right now. But we don't know that. We don't know that. It says there's a call for more intimacy in your immediate relationships. There is an opening for a heart-to-heart communication that can salvage and restore a broken relationship or friendship. If you're willing to honor your differences and look to what unites you. Sometimes it is hard to bear the differences between one another. One person may be willing to live life in high definition, whilst another may prefer to live it more vicariously, until they have the confidence to step onto the center stage of their own life story. Yeah, so this is definitely a dynamic between you and another person. We see that here with this card as well. We are not here to judge each other, just to love and to be loved, and to let go of those that cannot accept us as we open up to those who can. This oracle brings guidance for you to trust in the sanctity of the connections in your life. If you have asked to experience a more sacred connection with people who truly get you, and you want to play life with you, rather than at odds with or against you, then this oracle is confirmation that this manifestation is on its way to you now. It may or may not be obvious at first, but kindred spirits are going to enter your life to help you connect with deeper feelings and creativity. They will give you wings to your inspirational ideas and big dreams. If you have been asking for healing in your current friendships or other immediate relationships, know that this can happen through your willingness to express your true feelings and allow the situation to either fall apart or come together, according to the greater workings of life. Sometimes webs that have joined people together are broken, and that is appropriate, as people may have outgrown what once held them together. Sometimes the ties that bind us together are so strong that they are able to withstand a great deal of pressure and still remain intact. The webs of connection between us will sever or sustain based on the higher wisdom of life itself. Either way, healing happens in the resolution of our feelings. We are once again able to feel free, forgive, and be ready to move on to the next stage of relating, either with the person who has been in a connection with us for a time or with someone new. This oracle asks you to remain open to healing connections and allow people to be close to you. Trust in the process that draws people in and out of your life. Resist nothing and seek wisdom in all. Wow, this sums up everything I was feeling in this. Like, it's the emotions that you're feeling in regards to this other person that have taken a hold on you. But what is the wisdom here? What is the wisdom of those emotional feelings? Because that's where you're going to truly gain enlightenment for your situation. But not only that, that's where you're going to begin taking back your power and standing grounded in that power. Okay? So this is what I see here for you, pile number 2. If you feel like this is your reading, leave the little, is there an umbrella emoji? If there's not an umbrella emoji, leave the rainfall emoji, the thunderstorm emoji down below and say, it is through understanding and observing my own actions and emotions that I begin to not only understand others, I now know how to navigate the world around me with freedom and a purity of heart. And if it resonated with you, it'd mean so much to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe below. And if you're interested in supporting the channel further, check out the description box. It has everything you need, including how to reach me for a personal reading, as well as how to join here on the channel as a member. With that, I do want to take a quick second to thank your guides, your spirit messengers, your angel source, and my spirit guides for coming together to give us this very deep, very powerful message. And until next time, pile number 2, stay human. Bye. Hello, my fellow human. If you were drawn to this beautiful moonstone, or if you were drawn to this dice with the 7th house on it, or if you were drawn to this card during the shuffle, this is going to be a reading on how can you stand in your power. I do want to say thank you to anyone and everyone that continues to be a supportive part of this journey. I'm truly honored to be sharing this time and space with you. And for anybody that is new here, welcome. This is that reminder that we're all here sharing this human experience together, and that this is a safe space to show up as your highest, most aligned, loving, authentic self. If you are truly new here, we do things a lot differently on this channel. So I just suggest strapping in, hanging on, and you and I are going to find out together. And if the messages happen to resonate along the way, it would mean the world to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe down below. Now, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and hop to it and find out, Source, how can pile number 3 stand in their power? What would you like to share with us today? Source, how can pile number 3 stand in their power? What messages do you have for them today? Before we get started, I did have a channel message, and that was the South Node energy kept coming out, like this releasing of energy. And also the Wounded Healer was coming out as well. And when we talk about the Wounded Healer, you know, I mentioned this a couple of times. It's where we're still trying to heal others from a wound that we're experiencing ourselves that we have yet to face the whole or the entirety of. And so we haven't come into the healed warrior just yet. And so it can put us in a very precarious place, but it's also kind of the path through which we learn how to become the enlightened warrior and the healed warrior. But I do feel like there's something here that would greatly benefit you to let go, that you're meant to release in this lifetime. And it's been very difficult to release. It's been very difficult to let go, whether through stubbornness or through just uncertainty or fear. We'll definitely dig a little bit deeper into that as we go. But I do feel like this is something that you are doing the best that you can to really relinquish the hold that you've had on this. So we do have the 11th house. We've got the moon and we've got Sagittarius energy. So this could have to do with friendships, a specific friendship. This could have to do with like-minded people as well, like needing to connect with like-minded people. I do feel like there's a sense of solitary energy here, like solitary confinement, or you have really just put yourself on lockdown in some way, shape, or form because of, the state of the world or what's going on, and not being able to connect with others in a more deeper, like a deeper connection to others, right? You're recognizing these very stereotypical, very shallow connections that people have, and they're exhausting. But I do feel like you're learning something from them as well, especially with the Sagittarius next to the moon here. I do feel like you're learning something from these non-committal relationships, but it's also forced you into a period of just not even trying to engage with people, or just giving up on them before things get started. So maybe you meet people online with the 11th house here, and you're really good at networking, you're really good at building connections, but it's like almost feeling as if every connection you have or every connection that you create is already doomed to fail, or already doomed to be this very shallow, surface level connection that is really frustrating here. And I feel like this is just a reminder to not give your power up to your past experiences. Yes, there are a ton of people in the world that are emotionally unavailable, that are not able to connect. But you also have to have faith and trust in yourself, knowing that you've come through so much that you're able to better discern who's right and who's wrong for you. And knowing that it's okay to walk away from people who don't vibe up in your energy or come up and want to be a better version of themselves, right? It's not to force people into this expectation, but rather it's to invite people to show up from a place of love. So I do feel like there's been a hurt and betrayal here. There's definitely been some wreckage along the way when it comes to your connections. And how can you find excitement in reconnecting with people again? I feel like you have always been a very outgoing person, but circumstances and situations have forced you to become introverted. And there's really no desire to become an extrovert again. There's really no desire to put yourself out there again because of what has happened in the past. And with the 11th house here, it's seeing things from a different perspective and letting your original thought processes and your originality be what carries you through. Trusting that when you're 100% yourself, people who are going to vibe with you are going to be attracted to you. But people who aren't going to vibe with you, they're not going to be attracted to you, and that's okay. So you feel like it's just trusting the vibe and trusting your own vibe too. This is part of becoming the enlightened warrior, is what this feels like. This is a part of the process for you. So I'm going to be using the original Tarot Marseille. This is going to give us the nitty gritty to things. So we're really going to dig in deep today. All the readings have been incredibly deep. I'm really glad that I did this reading. It was sitting in my heart for a few days, like I said at the intro. But it was a channeled message that I received in a meditation. And it came in so strong. And I didn't even write it down. This is how much it's been sitting with me. I have had it on my mind for days, and I knew that I needed to do it today. All right, Source. How can pile number 3 stand in their power? Trusting that there are miracles in life, that there are blessings. I feel like you trust that there are blessings in physical things and spiritual things, but maybe you don't feel like there's blessings when it comes to people. Yeah. How can pile number 3 stand in their power? Okay, thank you. How can pile number 3 stand in their power, Source? Balancing out the odds again. So maybe we're cheated on, or maybe someone, you know, cheated with your spouse and that ended a marriage or a connection. How can pile number 3 stand in their power? Thank you. How can pile number 3 stand in their power, Source? Wow. Thank you. How can pile number 3 stand in their power, Source? This one. Okay. On the bottom, yeah, the 2 of Swords. Interesting. The 2 of Swords in the upright. Like, you're on the path to a positive outcome already. But there are things that you've outgrown along the way. The more you keep reflecting, the more you understand a part of yourself or part of your past. Like, this could be hurt and betrayal from an ex. This could be hurt and betrayal from a friend. It could be multiple people in your life that hurt and betrayed you. But the more that you reflect on yourself and how you showed up in those situations, and understanding that maybe no one was at fault. Ooh, I felt that someone was not okay with that. Someone was not okay with that. They're like, someone is at fault here, and it wasn't me. But hear me out. When people are showing up based on their past actions, right? It's really not their fault. And you can kick and scream and say, well, they should know better, they should know better. But at the end of the day, if someone knew better, they would show up differently. So this whole thing of us saying, well, they should know better and they should figure it out themselves, is us basically saying that you have to live up to my expectations in order for me to give you unconditional love, which we've seen from the get-go is actually a form of conditional love. And that's something that ourselves have gone through with other people when we didn't show up in the way that they expected us to, or how they saw that we needed to show up. We were given conditional love. So what makes it so different when we show up in that very same place saying, I can't love you unconditionally because you didn't show up the way that I expected you to? And when we say unconditional love, this is not about being a doormat. This is not about you rolling over and saying, this person can treat me however I want. Sometimes unconditional love is walking away. But in this instance, I feel like the situations are long done. They've been in the past for a while. And with the Hermit here and the 2 of Swords on the bottom of the deck, it's showing that you have an opportunity right now to really look into how you showed up in the situation. Not to blame yourself, not to find faults, but what were your toxic patterns? What were your toxic behaviors? What were things that were automatic and were ruling your life at that time? And understanding that about yourself gives you a better understanding of how new people don't deserve that same judgment. Because you're a new person now than you were when you showed up in these situations. So do you feel like yourself now should receive the same judgments that you received when you were that person in the past? No. Right? And we shouldn't judge people anyways, but if we're looking at it in terms of this, you don't deserve to be judged like the person you were a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago. You don't deserve to be judged based on that person, because that person's long gone. So is it okay for us to continue to hold resentments against a person who hurt us in the past, or maybe that was the only way that they knew how to show up? But I do feel like that's the thing, is not seeing that when we're blaming that person, we're judging that person, we're saying it's their fault and their fault alone, and we're holding all these deep grudges and resentment. We've actually given our power away to that past situation, that past person, and saying that I can never let go because I was hurt so much. I don't feel like I deserve to be free from this situation, so you'll always live in my mind rent-free. So with the Hermit coming out here, it's just this reminder that it's okay. Like, you're on the path to a positive outcome. Things are shifting for you, but you're outgrowing a thought process that has been holding on for too long. And maybe that's blaming someone else. Maybe that's self-blame. Maybe that is feeling like I can't forgive. Or maybe that's feeling like, you know, they should take accountability for their actions, or I deserve an apology. Like, all these things are thought processes that we're holding on to that potentially become great anchors in our life and keep us from realizing the dreams that we want, or even connecting with the people who mean the most to us. Because we're always going to be using those past examples as a way to judge fresh new faces, rather than letting these fresh new faces, these fresh new people show up exactly as they are in this moment. It's like not judging them prior, right? Not judging them at all, but letting them show up as they are, and then basing how we choose to show up on that. How are they going to show up? And then we'll decide how we show up in regards to that. Yeah. The King of Swords here. All right. We've got the Four of Coins. Yeah, finding that stability. And the Seven of Cups. Okay, so there's been a lack of emotional boundaries here. And we see that, right? Letting the hurt get the best of us. That's a lack of an emotional boundary within ourselves. That's basically us saying that however my emotions run, they can run rampant, and I'm never going to put them in check because I deserve to be heard, or I deserve to be validated, or I deserve to be understood, or I deserve all these things, right? Which you do. But no one's going to do that for you except for you. And validating your emotions, your experience, and what it is that you're feeling is so valuable to you on the journey. But this is what Source is bringing up. This is how you take back your power. Finding stability in the clarity of what emotional boundaries that maybe you didn't know you needed or didn't know existed back then. And that's how you can overcome this entire situation and move on and not feel so weighed down by it. You are learning, though. You're learning something about this situation right now. Maybe there was a trigger that came up that resembled this situation, or maybe it was just your mind processing things and then it brought up a trigger for you. Sometimes our minds will do that. Sometimes our subconscious will send up a memory down the chain, something we haven't thought about in years, and then there's all of a sudden this connection that happens and we get triggered and we're experiencing that. But here it is, it's just saying, like, what is it that maybe you could have done that would have better served your higher good in that time that you didn't know about then? And not being angry about that, just being curious about it and observant about it. Like, wow, you know, I didn't know that I needed to say no in this situation because that was actually what I was feeling. Instead, I felt pressured because I wanted this person to like me and I wanted them to see that I was ready and willing to go to the ends of the earth with them, even if that meant putting my whole life on the back burner and them letting them take over, right? And it's not about blaming yourself, but that's an honest answer, right? I didn't know, and so I did this because I thought this is what was going to get me this attention, the love, the reciprocation that I desired. But finding stability in the logical sense of this rather than letting the emotions take the better part of you. This is about coming from a very clear-minded, clear-headed place and observing it with an open eye and saying, okay, this is how this person showed up, but this is what happened with me in that situation. Rather than saying, well, I've only ever been through situations of betrayal, so that means that I'm always ever going to be through situations of betrayal. And then when that manifests, that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And you're like, see, I knew it all along. I knew that this was the only thing that was ever going to manifest in my life because that's all I ever get. But when you're saying it over and over again, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And how can anything be different if you're telling Source that's exactly how your world is? That's exactly what the world is going to be manifested as. So therefore it becomes you get what you ask for, right? That whole thing, be careful what you ask for, that's a real thing, right? But I do feel like you have a tribe out there that wants to connect with you. They want to see you. But right now it's facing the emotional blockages. These are blockages that are coming in, the emotional blockages of maybe codependency, passive-aggressive behavior, emotional disconnection, disassociation. Also, maybe recently you've noticed a lot of pain in your upper legs, like the thighs and the hips area. And that's because of this lack of flow for the emotions that have been there. Bottling them up, but also letting them be in charge. There's been a really underlying message throughout this entire reading about not letting our emotions get the best of us. Right? But here we see for you the best course of action is showing up with a clear, logical mind. And I feel like that's actually very different than who you are as a person. I feel like you're very smart, you're very intelligent, you're very level-headed when you need to be, but when it comes to emotional things, your emotions automatically take control and the logic goes out the window. And that's why it's like showing up when it comes to your emotional side with this clear mind is actually going to be how you step beyond the patterns that have been raging war within your internal state. And then you'll be able to be very grounded and present in who you are, while also being able to defend off maybe the emotional ego, right? Defend from the emotional ego that's been taking over, or that's been trying to play the good cop, bad cop energy. That's what's coming through. I'm not laughing at you. It's so funny that came through. It's like the emotional ego. It's like coaxing you in and tempting you with the good cop, but then it's the bad cop and it's like, ah, you dumb blah, blah, blah. And you're like, whoa, holy crap, but we fall for it because we've always fallen for it. Falled for it, because that's a word. We've always fell for it. And that's something that has been controlling for us, and we don't recognize that until we choose to see it. And that comes from this observation here, but coming with this very clear-minded place, right? The wounded healer has not yet become the enlightened warrior, and because of that, it's not able to see beyond its own hurt, while it's able to recognize that hurt within another, and that can elicit healing within another. What it cannot do is empower another, because we have yet to realize how to empower ourselves. Cancer energy, nurture, comfort, and protection. So you could be a Cancer moon. You could also have Cancer in the 11th house, the 4th house, 7th house, 2nd house, a rising Venus. You'd have Aquarius in the 10th house. Capricorn North Node is coming in, or South Node. Split the deck. Virgo, integrity, reverence, and service. I just opened the deck for whatever reason, I don't know. But finding a new sense of integrity. Coming back to a space of service, but service for yourself, right? We can't give to others if we're not giving to ourselves. So finding that place of service to self. What else, Source? How can pile number 3 stand in their power? Okay, they want one more of these. How can pile number 3 stand in their power, Source? How can pile number 3 stand in their power? How can pile number 3 stand in their power? That's the one. Misalignment. Says, miracles become normal once we face all of the aspects of our life in the same direction. Yeah, so the past is still in a different direction right now, right? It's creating a lot of ups and downs, chaos, so there's a misalignment there. But this is about integration of the shadow aspect of ourselves. Yeah, this came out in another pile. You might have resonated with another pile as well. Emotional energy. Emotions are messengers to be met with appropriate attention, action, and gratitude, right? And I didn't do this for the other pile, but I feel like I need to do it for you. And then while I'm grabbing this, if you have watched all 3 of the piles with me, leave a purple heart down below, or just say I made it. I know what that means. That's for the Purple Heart Club. That's for those of you that spend the entire reading with me. I truly do appreciate your time and your energy. And even if you didn't, and you're here just on the one pile. I'm truly honored to have this space with you. It says emotion is energy. Each emotion vibrates somewhere different along the spectrum of high to low frequency. The positive emotions have higher energetic frequencies and they are light and vibrant. The uncomfortable or the negative emotions have a slower energetic frequency. They are denser and therefore heavier. Calm is neutral and located at the center of the spectrum. It is our optimal homeostatic setting and the equilibrium to which our bodies seek to return in response to any deviation, right? Coming back into balance. Uncomfortable emotions that we neglect can potentially result in unhealthy suppression or outbursts of reactive behavior and thoughts that take us in circles that spiral downward. These are the frequent and unfortunate consequences to inaccurate thinking that some emotions are bad, wrong, or without value, which is untrue. Every emotion holds value for us. Knowing how our emotional life either propels us forward, sets us off course, or becomes a stagnating force is integral to learning how to use them for empowerment. Oh my gosh, I'm going to end that there because that's exactly what we're talking about. Not yet becoming the enlightened warrior, not yet finding a way to empower ourselves because the emotions are running rampant right now. And that's what they're saying here is they're saying once you observe those emotions and what they come with, let go of the confusion that's tied to that. This will open up so much for you. This will shed the light on what it is that's been holding you back on your own journey, or what it is that's been holding you back from being able to embody and trust in your own internal power. All right, let's see what else comes out for you here. What else would you like to tell pile number 3, Source? How can they stand in their power? Okay. On the bottom, Rebel. And we've got the Rebel, the Sacred Rebel Oracle that we're using today as well. And you got the Rebel card on the bottom. Challenges authority to effect social change. Rejects spiritual systems that do not serve inner needs. And the Shadow is rejects legitimate authority out of anger. Rebels out of peer pressure or fashion. Right? So not coming into the shadow, but really coming into this place of light where it's like, what works for me? Why am I rebelling against this idea of holding on to my emotions? Why am I rebelling against this idea of I can't forgive? Right? These are all very valuable questions. We have the Wisdom Cube came out for you. Soon to face a choice. Regard it as solving a multifaceted cube. Explore from all angles to unveil the right path. Truth at a turn. This really feels like this misalignment energy as well, bringing everything into the right direction. Right, you think of a Rubik's Cube, the whole point of a Rubik's Cube is to get all the colors matching on each side of the cube, right? Which for some, they're super simple to solve, and for others, it's nearly impossible. So remembering that, right? Remembering that. For some, it's super simple. They can solve it in just a matter of seconds, a few turns, and it's completely solved. For others, they'll spend their whole life trying to figure it out. So not beating yourself up for where you're at on the spectrum, because there's a whole variety of people stuck somewhere at that spectrum, but still working on it, right? And I feel like that's the main thing here is still working on it. That's what's going to bring you power. We have facade. Look at this. Seek the truth. It says, a shining facade often conceals a fragile core. Be wary of temptations that seem too perfect. Right? Not feeding the ego here. That's what it feels like. Like it's so easy to get caught up feeding the ego and telling the ego, you're right. Let me just do that. That's what's easiest for me. It makes me feel good. Right? I want others to validate me. I don't want to validate myself because why should I validate myself when they made me hurt? When they're the ones that broke my heart? When they're the ones that did this? Because ultimately at the end of the day, they're going to do whatever it is that they're going to do. And it's our job and our responsibility to tend to our emotional garden. We have flight here on the bottom. Set yourself free. Escape environments that constrain you and find a new space that fosters your personal growth. Uncage yourself, right? Uncage yourself from this idea that's been holding you back for so long and remembering your power. All right, let's get one of these. Judgment. Wow, I'm not surprised this came out, but wow. We understand that everyone has their own unique path and challenges. So this is powerful for you, pile number 3, because it's that reminder that, like, yeah, of course we can sit in judgment. You've been through a lot. You have been through a lot, but the judgment came out right away. It's like judging new people based on past situations. And it's just this reminder that, like, these new people, they're just that. They're new people, and something that you can approach with excitement and a sense of adventure and see where it goes, while also trusting that you've discerned enough in your life that you can trust your instincts. Growth. I want to expand my consciousness and my awareness. Yeah, you've come a long way. And I feel like this is Source encouraging you and reminding you that because you've come a long way, you'll have that opportunity to see people exactly as they are. Yeah, you're stepping up into a very abundant time energetically, if you allow yourself to, right? It's all about allowance here. It's not just going to happen without you showing up. You still have to show up. You have to surrender to this idea that the past is what the future will be. Because it's not. You've healed. You've gone through so much. But the wounded healer is keeping you stuck in those stagnants, still reliving those core wounds over and over again. Now it's time to become the enlightened warrior. And what did I say? The South Node was coming out as a channel message for you, and we have the North Node coming in with destined to have. You're destined to have good things. You're destined to be in alignment. You're destined to have this abundance. You're destined to have wisdom guide your journey. Intention. This came out in another pile as well. It says lacking personal direction begets confusion, and life is a pawn to someone else's game of chess. Okay, so when you're not sure of what it is that you want, or who it is that you are, what it is that you're doing, everyone else will find a way for you to live life due to their own personal agenda. That's just how it goes. Right? Whether it's conscious or unconscious, they're going to do it because it's like asking for a leader and not caring who takes that position. Rather than saying, I'm the leader of my life and I care that I'm the one that's in position for that. So we have the athlete here. Dedication to transcending physical limits, including handicaps. Development of personal willpower and strength of spirit. And the shadow is misuse of athletic abilities for selfish ends. False sense of invulnerability and entitlement. Yeah, so also not getting caught up in this, well, I deserve it because I went through all of this. That's that entitlement. Rather than saying, like, I deserve it because it's my birthright. Not feeling entitled to it, but just knowing that this is a part of our birthright. It's not because of what we went through. It's because we were born that we deserve all good things. And continuing to strengthen your spirit, this will help empower you and help you to stand in your power. Liberator. Freeing yourself and others from outmoded beliefs. Releasing negative thought patterns. The shadow attributes. Imposing your own tyranny over those you claim to liberate. Ignoring legitimate constraints. So again, liberating yourself from those past beliefs and those potentially toxic patterns that maybe you had when showing up in these relationships or these connections. It's really hard for us to honor those parts of ourselves because they feel ugly. They feel like something that would just be better if we just kept it hidden and we didn't face it. And I believe I said this in another pile as well, but if we do that, it only exacerbates the problem. And what we resist persists, and it can become something that suddenly becomes well out of our control. And so just remembering that if you're always judging people based on what it is you've gone through in the past, it will be nearly impossible for you to ever connect with your soul tribe, because you'll judge even your soul tribe based on these past interactions without seeing them as a new person that's free to show up exactly as they are in this moment. So let's take a look at this card. I'm going to read this from the book for you. Beyond the mind, the heart beats. Yeah, coming back into alignment with the heart, right? Not letting the mind convince you. That's the emotional ego, not letting the mind convince you. But still, it feels like a conundrum because we were talking about coming with a logical mindset, right? Which is true. You need to come with a logical mindset while at the same time not letting yourself fall down the rabbit hole of the what ifs, the what about that, what about this, right? It says, in the chaos of modern life and the constant fluctuations of our minds, it can be difficult to remember the sublime sanctuary that lies within. Yet, it is always there. Beneath the ceaseless activity, there is an endless, vast spaciousness that restores and connects us to something greater. Something that exists outside of time. Some might call it eternity. Within the sanctuary, sacred sound is felt rather than heard. The sacred sound is actually the reverberating heartbeat of the entire universe. Your own heart's rhythm sounds with the greater universal heartbeat. The totality of life, all of your being, can be felt as one through listening to and feeling for the sacred sound of the heart beating within you. It is through this heartbeat that we experience a love that is more than preference or attachment. This is the love that inspires, energizes, and moves us to create, even beyond what we thought once thought was possible. Your love for life, the need to feel alive and express yourself, and the quest for that which is truly fulfilling. These are the sacred urges that rebel against fear and promote passion for being alive. They flow through your blood and can be felt through the beating of your heart. There is the way of the mind which can make mountains out of molehills, even when it thinks it is turning mountains into molehills. Then there is the way of the heart. It is a subterranean and moves subtly beneath possible obstacles, intelligently shifting with exquisite sensitivity, sensing the way forward, through dangerous pathways, and responding to what is before it even occurs in the physical world. However, with the heart's intelligent, we cannot see and know in the same way that we do when we allow the mind to direct us. We have to be open to another way if we want to benefit from the innate intelligence of the heart. The mind sees, plans, and strategizes. The heart feels, responds, senses, and intuits. When we walk the path of the heart, we must feel rather than respond rather than to plan our way. It is a different way to live and create. It is closer to the earth and to the source of life itself. It is not for those who are lacking in courage and trust, but you're not one of those. You're being asked to trust your heart, to drop into it. The mind is important, but it cannot supplant the heart. The role of the mind is to serve the truths of the heart, that is, to create the spacious chamber of receptiveness into which sacred rhythm of your heartbeat can resound. This oracle comes with a guidance for you. Deep within, you know what to do, and you know what is true. It matters not whether the mind and its plans seem to agree with your inner sense. Your willingness to trust your heart and to rebel against fear will serve you well. Let your heart lead you. Be sure of your faith and trust in what you feel. It says your heart and your head have been in conflict at times over the course of your life. This has brought you struggle and sometimes deep suffering. A truce will soon be declared, and an appropriate outcome of the mind waving the white flag of surrender is imminent. Soon, if not already, you'll finally be feeling that your heart is leading you. You'll feel that your mind is learning to follow the guidance of your heart rather than trying to be out front, seeing and sorting everything out in advance. In order to be safe, what a relief to let go of this old way. Your mind can become adjusted, more relaxed and trusting. All right, so what we were talking about is like coming through this place of logic, right? You might be like, well, it's saying to live from the heart. What we're saying from this place of logic is the emotional ego can run us down into this rabbit hole of thoughts. Well, this happened, or replay conversations that never even happened in the first place, right? When we're looking at it from a place of logic, we're sitting back and observing and allowing things to unfold, and then allowing our intuition to take us down the path which aligns with our greatest good. It's a process, right? It's not about perfecting it. It's just about allowing the process to unfold instead of trying to judge everything before it comes to play. So this is what I see here for you, pile number 3. This is a pretty deep reading. I love doing this reading. This was a fun reading to do. I really hope that this gave you the guidance that you were looking for. If you do feel like this is your reading, leave the little dragon emoji down below and say, through releasing the reactivity that has held me bondage for so long, I spread my wings and I now soar, knowing that my heart and my intuition are guiding me to safety and true inner freedom. If it resonated with you, it means so much to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe down below. And if you're interested in supporting the channel further, check out the description box. It has everything you need, including how to reach me for a personal reading, as well as how to join as a member here on the channel. With that, I want to take a quick second to thank your guides, your spirit messengers, your angel source, and my spirit guides for coming together to give us this incredibly powerful message. And until next time, pile number 3, stay human. Bye.